My name is Josh, 34 years old, husband, father, the guy who cuts his neighbor's lawn even if it's not his turn. I was never flashy, never wild, just solid. Steady job in logistics, one kid in third grade, and a wife who, at least until a few months ago, I thought I knew inside out. Her name's Emily. We've been married for 9 years. She's gorgeous in that way that sneaks up on you. Long dark hair she always wore in a braid, eyes that could stop me mid-sentence, and a calmness that made everything else feel less chaotic. For most of our marriage, she stayed at home with our daughter, Ellie. That was the plan. We agreed on it together. I'd bring in the income, she'd keep our home life strong. We didn't have much, but we had trust. Or so I thought. It all started when she told me she wanted to start working again. Nothing major, she said. Just a part-time cleaning job. A friend of hers, someone from Ellie's school, had offered her a gig. Flexible hours, under-the-table pay, perfect for easing back in. I supported it. I mean, why wouldn't I? Emily had always been the kind of woman who needed to do things, garden, bake, organize. She wasn't built for boredom. She started going out twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Said the house was just a short walk away, no need for the car. I asked whose house it was. She paused a second too long, then smiled. Just a guy. Divorced. Keeps to himself. Needs help keeping the place clean. I didn't press. Weeks went by, and things felt fine. She came home a little more tired than usual, but nothing alarming. Were basic stuff, jeans, plain tops, hair tied back. She'd drop her bag, wash up, start dinner. But one thing started bugging me. She never talked about the job. Like, ever. No complaints, no funny stories, no awkward encounters. Just nothing. And if you've been married as long as I have, you know, silence is louder than words. One afternoon, I came home early from work. Had a migraine. Told my boss I was tapping out for the day. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed her car was gone. But it was Thursday. Her work day. I grabbed a snack, laid on the couch, and drifted into a half-nap with the TV buzzing in the background. Until I heard a knock at the door. It was Steve, my neighbor from 2 houses down. Steve's in his 50s. Retired cop. Real by-the-book kind of guy. We don't talk much, just head nods and the occasional grill-out invite. But that day, he looked uncomfortable. "Hey, Josh," he said. "You got a sec?" "Sure," I said, stepping outside. He looked down at his feet. "This is none of my business. I know that. But, I saw Emily going into the house at the corner. The one with the red shutters. I nodded. That's Mr. Callahan's place. Widowed, maybe 70. Not exactly the cleaning type, but who knows? She wasn't alone," Steve added. My heart stuttered. "What do you mean?" He scratched his head. There was a younger guy there too. SUV parked out back. Out-of-state plates. I felt my jaw clench. "You sure it was Emily?" He gave me that cop look, the kind that says, would I be standing here if I wasn't? I thanked him, closed the door, and sat down. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Then Emily came home. "Hey babe," she called out. "You're home early?" "Yeah," I said, keeping it casual. "Migraine." She leaned down and kissed my head. "I'll make you some tea." I watched her move around the kitchen like everything was fine. But I knew something wasn't. That night, I checked the Maps app on her phone. Don't judge me, something in my gut told me I wasn't crazy. Sure enough, her location history showed she hadn't been at the Red Shutter house in over 2 weeks. Instead, she'd been repeatedly pinging at a newer townhouse complex 10 blocks west. And guess what? That's not walking distance. I didn't sleep that night. I kept playing scenarios in my head. Maybe she was helping someone else. Maybe she lied because she knew I'd judge her. Maybe it was innocent. But the second you start building maybes, you're already losing the truth. The next morning, I drove to that complex, parked across the street, waited, and then I saw her, walking out of one of the units, wearing clothes I hadn't seen before, tight black yoga pants, fitted top, hair down. And behind her, a man, late 30s, gym build, beard, hand on her back. They laughed at something. She didn't see me. I stayed frozen in the car. I felt like I was looking at a stranger. Like the woman I loved, the woman who kissed me goodbye that morning, was living a second life just 10 minutes from our home. And in that moment, one truth hit me like a punch to the ribs. She said it was just a job, but it was his house too. The next day, I couldn't focus. Not at work, not at home, not even during the driver coffee run I did every single morning. My thoughts kept looping back to that man, The way his hand slid across her back like it belonged there. The way she let it. The woman I kissed goodbye that morning was not the woman I saw walking out of that townhouse. And I needed answers. Not guesses. Not gut feelings. Proof. That evening, I told Emily I'd be working late the next day. She didn't question it. Just kissed me, told me to take it easy. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask her what the hell was going on. But instead, I smiled back like nothing was wrong, because part of me still hoped this could somehow be salvaged. The other part? It was already building a plan. The next day, I parked my car 2 streets over from the townhouse complex around 1 p.m. It was sunny, warm, no clouds, a perfect day to find out if your wife is living a lie. I waited. Window cracked, sunglasses on, seat reclined just enough to not draw attention. At 1:36 p.m., she arrived. Same black leggings. Different top. Hair down again. She walked up to Unit 204 like she'd done it 100 times before. Used a key. Let herself in. A key. She had a damn key. I waited 15 minutes. Then I moved. I crept along the sidewalk, avoiding direct angles, finally reaching the townhouse side window half covered with blinds, but not fully closed. And I saw her. Not cleaning. Not vacuuming. Not wiping counters. She was sitting on the couch, his couch, laughing. Legs tucked under her like she lived there. A glass of wine in her hand. His arm over her shoulder. I couldn't hear the words, but the body language said enough. They were comfortable. Intimate. Relaxed. Like this was normal. Like I didn't exist. I backed away. Heart racing. Mind spinning. Every step back to the car felt like I was walking out of my own life. I sat behind the wheel and just stared at the dash. She told me it was a job. But she had a key. A glass of wine. A relationship. And the worst part? She looked happy. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't trust myself not to explode. Instead, I started watching her. Closely. Not stalking, observing. Quietly. Precisely. She left every Tuesday and Thursday like clockwork. Sometimes for 3 hours. Sometimes 4. Always for work. I started tracking her phone. She had no idea I'd synced her location with my tablet months ago when we set up Ellie's parental controls. Every time she went to clean, she landed at Unit 204. And every time, she came home humming, cooking, pretending. One night, I decided to go one step further. I bought a small microphone recorder, the kind you can hide in a purse or a jacket. While she was in the shower, I slid it into the zippered pocket of her cleaning bag. I don't know what I was hoping to catch, maybe her talking to herself, or maybe nothing at all. But what I got was worse than anything I expected. That evening, when she fell asleep, I retrieved the recorder. I sat in the dark kitchen, earbuds in, hands trembling. At first, just movement. Then laughter. A man's voice. Hers. Then him saying, "Did he buy the book club story?" Her response? "Josh still thinks I cleaned Mr. Callahan's house. He's clueless." More laughter. Then kissing. Then silence. Then her voice, soft, intimate. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. He's starting to ask questions. Then his. Tell him you're tired. That he's making you anxious again. You always say that works. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just cheating. This was manipulation. Gaslighting. She wasn't just sneaking around. She was rewriting the story. To everyone. To me. To our daughter. And worst of all, I was letting her. The next day, I played it cool again. I kissed her goodbye. I told her good luck at work. She smiled. Thanks. Shouldn't be too bad. Might stay a little later today. Of course you will, I thought. But I said, sure. Take your time. That evening, I picked up Ellie from school. Took her for ice cream. Kept my phone on silent. When we got home, Emily wasn't there. So I did what any shattered man desperate for clarity would do. I went back to the townhouse. I parked closer this time. Got out. Walked right up to the front steps and knocked. I don't know what I expected, maybe yelling, maybe slamming doors. But instead, he opened the door. Tall. T-shirt. Confident smirk. Can I help you? I said, yeah. I'm Emily's husband. His smile faded. A beat of silence. Then he stepped aside. Come in. I stepped inside the townhouse. It was clean. Quiet. Dim lighting. Beige furniture. Not much personal decor. Like a hotel someone's lived in too long. He gestured toward the couch, like we were about to have coffee. Like this wasn't the most surreal moment of my life. I didn't sit. Where is she? He shrugged. She left 10 minutes ago. Said she had errands. I didn't know you were coming. I nodded. Clearly. He studied me. No arrogance, no smirk this time. Just something like resignation. You want to know how this started? He asked. No, I said. I want to know everything. He walked to the kitchen, poured himself a glass of water, took a sip, then leaned against the counter like he'd done this before. I didn't know she was married at first, he said. My stomach turned. Bullshit. He held up a hand. I swear. She told me she was divorced. Said it was messy, that she was just getting back on her feet. We met at the gym. She corrected my form on the pull-up bar. Said she used to be a trainer. I let that sink in. She hadn't mentioned a gym in years. She flirted, he continued. I flirted back. We went for smoothies. She invited me here. That was week 2. I felt something break in my chest. She said she had a daughter, he added. Didn't mention you. Not once. Not until I found the wedding band in her purse. I stepped closer. She keeps it in her purse? He nodded. Bottom pocket. Said she only wore it when she had to, like for school functions. She told me you were controlling, that you tracked her, that you monitored her phone. I believed her. My hands clenched. He noticed. I'm not defending her, he said quietly. I'm just telling you what she told me. I sat down. Finally. Why didn't you stop when you found out? He looked away. I did. For a while. But she came back. She always came back. I didn't speak. I couldn't. Because I knew what that meant. I knew her pull. Her way of making you feel like the bad guy even when she was the one doing the damage. I had lived inside that quiet manipulation for years. She told me I was the only one who made her feel seen, he added. Like she could breathe around me. Said being with you was suffocating. I laughed bitterly. Of course she did. There was a pause. Then he said something that hit harder than I expected. She's not who you think she is. And maybe not who I thought she was either. She's not in love with me. She's in love with escaping. I looked at him, really looked at him, and realized. He wasn't the enemy. He was just the next stop on her route to anywhere but here. I stood up. You ever meet my daughter? I asked. He shook his head. She never brought her here. Always said she was with a sitter or at school. Good, I muttered. And then I left. When I walked through the door at home, Emily was in the kitchen, wiping down the counter like it was just another Thursday. You're home early, she said without looking up. Yeah, I replied. Traffic was light. She smiled. Want me to make you something? No, I said. We need to talk. That wiped the smile right off her face. She sat across from me in silence. No defenses yet. Just calculation. I could see the wheels turning. You were at his house? She asked. I didn't flinch. Yes. She exhaled sharply. Josh, I can explain. Don't. I already heard your version. Her eyes narrowed. He told you. Everything. She folded her arms. Then you should know it wasn't serious. It was just. Just what? A hobby? A second home? A full-blown alternate life? She didn't respond. I reached into my jacket and pulled out the voice recorder. Set it on the table. Pressed play. Her voice filled the room. Josh still thinks I cleaned Mr. Callahan's house. He's clueless. Tell him you're tired. That he's making you anxious again. You always say that works. She paled. You planted that in my bag? She hissed. No, I said. I planted it in my reality. Because you erased it. She looked down. Her voice dropped to a whisper. What are you going to do? I'm going to do what I should have done months ago. That night, I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. Didn't cry. I packed a small bag, kissed my daughter goodnight, and went to my brother's place. Told him I'd explain in the morning. Before I left, I told Emily one thing. Don't twist this. Don't lie to Ellie. Don't turn me into the villain again. If you do, I'll show her everything. Every word. Every photo. Every message. She didn't say a word. Just nodded. The next morning, I woke up early. I watched the sunrise from my brother's patio, coffee in hand, hoodie pulled over my head, and for the first time in a long, long time, I felt still. Not okay. Not healed. But still. And stillness is the start of rebuilding. I sat across from Ellie at the kitchen table. It was Saturday morning. The sky outside was dull, like even the sun didn't feel like rising. The house was quieter than usual, no cartoons, no dishes clinking, no Emily humming in the background. Just me, my daughter, and a truth too heavy for 8-year-old shoulders. She picked at her pancake. Where's Mom? She asked. Out, I said. She'll be back later. Ellie nodded, like it didn't matter. But it did. It mattered more than anything. Hey, I said gently. I need to talk to you about something important. She looked up at me, her eyes the same deep hazel as Emily's, but softer, still unspoiled. I took a breath. You know how sometimes grown-ups make mistakes? She nodded again, slower this time. Well, your mom and I are going through something really hard. And it's not your fault. It's not about you. But it's something you need to know. I paused, searching her face. We're not going to be living together for a while. Her fork stopped midair. Are you getting divorced? I didn't answer right away. I just reached across the table and took her hand. We're figuring things out. But, yeah, probably. She didn't cry. She didn't ask why. She just said, because she was at that other house? I froze. You? No. She nodded. I saw her once. I didn't tell you. I thought maybe you already knew. Tears hit the back of my throat. I didn't, sweetheart. Not then. She looked down. I didn't like the way she smiled there. It was different. I squeezed her hand. You're really smart, you know that? She shrugged. Then whispered, Are you mad at me? That broke me. No. Never. This is not your fault. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. That evening, Emily came home. I didn't speak to her. Didn't ask where she'd been. I didn't need to anymore. She tried to act normal. Set down her purse. Took off her shoes. Checked the mail. But the silence in the house was a wall she couldn't climb anymore. She peeked her head into the living room. Can we talk? I nodded. We sat down opposite ends of the couch, like strangers. I didn't think it would go this far, she said. I laughed once, dry, bitter. But it did. She looked down. I thought maybe you'd fight for me. Yell. Get jealous. I thought, maybe you'd care again. I stared at her. You broke something. Not just between us, inside me. She opened her mouth. Then closed it. I told Ellie, I said. Her face went pale. You what? I told her the truth. The kind of truth an 8-year-old can understand. She'll hate me. She doesn't. Yet. Emily swallowed. And what about you? I leaned back. I'm done hating you. That's not the goal anymore. Then what is? Peace. The next morning, I packed her things. Not all of them. Just enough. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just handed her 2 duffel bags at the door and said, Go stay with your sister. Or your mother. I don't care where. But this house, our daughter, they need space from the storm you brought in. She didn't argue. Just stood there, blinking back tears. I didn't mean to destroy everything, she whispered. You didn't destroy everything, I said. Just me. That week, I took Ellie to school. Made her lunches. Played board games we hadn't touched in months. Every night, before bed, she asked if I was okay. And every night I lied a little less. By Friday, Emily had filed for divorce. Uncontested. No lawyers. Just paperwork, signatures, silence. The following Sunday, Ellie and I sat on the back porch. She was sketching clouds. I was watching her, not the sky. She said, Will we ever be like we were? No, I said honestly. But maybe, I added, we'll be better. She nodded like she understood, then leaned her head on my shoulder. And in that moment, I realized something. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need explanations. I just needed this. Truth. And the space to breathe inside it. The paperwork was signed on a Tuesday. Just 2 signatures, 3 pages, and the weight of a decade lifted off my shoulders like dust shaken off an old coat. The silence in the room was unbearable, not because of what was said, but because of everything that used to be. Emily didn't cry. Neither did I. We just stopped being. When I got back home, Ellie was waiting on the porch. She wasn't smiling, but she wasn't scared either. I sat beside her. She didn't ask what happened, she already knew. Instead, she handed me a drawing. Crayon and pencil, bright, messy, perfect. It was of me. Just me and her, sitting on the couch. She'd drawn our cat too. No mom. No house in the background. Just us. And a big blue sky. I thought you should have this, she said. I hugged her like she was oxygen. That night, I slept in my own bed. Alone. No fake apologies. No silence that screamed. No pretending everything was okay when everything was broken. Just stillness. Just breath. And for the first time in months, I didn't wake up with a pit in my chest. The next morning, I made coffee. Sat on the back steps. Watched the sun rise slowly over our fence like it wasn't in a rush anymore. It was quiet. I didn't miss the noise. A week passed. Then 2. Emily came by to pick up some things. She didn't ask about me. She didn't ask about Ellie. She just moved around the house like a ghost, touching nothing, owning nothing. Before she left, she said, "I'm sorry." Not crying. Not dramatic. Just that. I nodded. Okay. Because what else can you say when someone finally realizes the fire they set burned them too? I started going to therapy. Just once a week. The first session, I didn't say much. Just told the guy I got lied to for months by the person who was supposed to love me. He nodded and said, "And yet you're still standing." That sentence stuck with me. Because he was right. I was still standing. Maybe a little bruised. Maybe a little quieter. But alive. I changed the furniture around. Bought new bedsheets. Painted the hallway. Not because I was trying to erase her, but because I wanted every room to reflect who I was now, not who I had been. Ellie helped. She picked out a silly rug for the living room, purple with yellow stars. Said it looked like magic under your feet. I kept it. I started journaling. Running. Cooking things I actually liked. I even reached out to old friends, the ones Emily had slowly distanced me from. Most of them responded. Some even said they knew something was off. That I'd changed. That I seemed smaller around her. That hurt. But it also healed. And then one night, weeks later, I got a message. From Claire. She and I had gone to high school together. We were never close, but she had this calm energy about her. Like she didn't need to be loud to be powerful. She wrote, "Hey. I heard what happened. I'm really sorry. If you ever want to grab a coffee and not talk about it, I'm around." I stared at the screen for a long time. Not because I wanted a date, but because, for the first time in a long time, someone reached out not to gossip, but to connect. I wrote back. Just 2 words. Let's go. That weekend, Ellie and I went to the lake. We didn't talk much. Just skipped rocks, ate sandwiches, and fed ducks that probably didn't need feeding. But at one point, she looked at me and said, "I like you better now." I raised an eyebrow. Better than when? Better than when you were quiet all the time. When mom made you tired. I didn't correct her. I just smiled. Because she was right. I had lost a marriage. But I found my daughter. I found my voice. And most importantly, I found myself. The divorce was finalized with a stamped envelope and a text from my lawyer. It's official. I didn't cry. Didn't smile, either. Just stood in the middle of my living room, looking around at a house that had once held a lie so big it almost swallowed me. Now, it just held air. Clean, honest air. I spent the rest of that day doing small things. Washed the car. Refilled the bird feeder. Called my mom. Not because I had to, because I wanted to. That's how I knew I was healing. Because when you're living in a mess, the little things feel exhausting. But now, they felt like choices. Emily sent one last message that night. "I hope you're okay." I read it. Reread it. Then deleted it. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't need to answer. She'd let go of me a long time ago, emotionally, physically, piece by piece. And I had finally let go of the version of myself who chased her. 1 week later, I met Claire. Not in a movie kind of way. Not with music swelling in the background. Just 2 people sitting across from each other in a quiet cafe. She asked how I was. I told her the truth. Not broken. Not fixed. Just here. She smiled. That's a good place to start. We didn't talk about relationships. We talked about books. And music. And the time she burned pasta trying to impress her ex. It was the most peaceful conversation I'd had in a year. We met up again. Then again. Nothing heavy. Nothing rushed. Just connection. It didn't feel like starting over. It felt like starting forward. Ellie started sleeping through the night again. No more asking if mom's mad. No more quiet dinners where she stared at her plate. We laughed more. Argued about bedtime. Watched old cartoons on the floor. I caught her drawing another picture. This time, it was 3 people. Me, her, and Claire. I asked, "Who's that?" She said, "I don't know. But she's nice." I smiled. We hung it on the fridge. Emily called once. Just once. Said she wanted to check in. I told her Ellie was doing great. That we were okay. She said, "You sound different." "I am." She went quiet. Then, "Do you hate me?" "No," I said. "But I don't love you anymore either." Another pause. Then she whispered, "Fair." And hung up. The truth is, there's no clean ending to a story like this. No fade to black. No last kiss. No epic music. Just slow mornings, safe people, and the steady work of becoming whole again. I don't check her socials anymore. I don't wonder who she's with. I don't count how many pieces she took with her. Because the ones I have left? They're mine. And that's enough. The last scene of this story? Me, sitting on the back porch, coffee in hand. watching Ellie play with chalk on the driveway. Claire steps out, hands me a blanket, kisses the top of my head. I don't say anything. I just breathe. Because the storm is gone. And I am finally free.